Jesus begins not with commands, not with warnings, but with blessings. Blessings for people you wouldn't expect. Blessed are the poor in spirit. A strange idea today, when confidence is praised, ego is rewarded, and success is measured by how loudly we can broadcast our achievements. But here, we're told the opposite. That the humble, the quiet, the ones aware of their own limitations, they're the ones closest to truth. There's a philosophical depth here. Humility creates space. When the ego softens, wisdom can enter. When pride quiets, clarity grows. Then he says, "Blessed are those who mourn." It almost sounds like a contradiction. How can sorrow be blessed? But look closely. Grief is proof of love. Mourning is the shadow cast by compassion. A heart that can break is a heart that is alive. And those who allow themselves to feel deeply, even when it hurts, are the ones who understand life most honestly. Next, blessed are the meek. Not weak. Meek. The Stoics would call this inner mastery, strength controlled rather than displayed. Meekness is the warrior who doesn't need to draw a sword just to prove he has one. Jesus continues, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness." People who aren't indifferent. People who feel the pull toward what is right, even if it costs them something. It's easy to give up when the world feels complicated, cynical, or unfair. But there is beauty in striving for goodness anyway. In choosing the higher path even when it isn't rewarded. He blesses the merciful. Those who forgive instead of keeping score. Those who give instead of withholding. Those who see the worst in others and still choose compassion over judgment. And then, blessed are the pure in heart. Not perfect, not flawless, but sincere, honest, untangled. A pure heart isn't a heart without mistakes, it's a heart without masks. Next, blessed are the peacemakers. Not the peacekeepers, the peacemakers. There's a difference. A peacekeeper avoids conflict. A peacemaker transforms it. They listen, they understand, they guide others away from anger. They heal division through patience and gentleness, not force. And finally, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. A reminder that doing what is right won't always be easy, or popular, or admired. But the worth of a choice is not measured by applause, it's measured by integrity. Take a moment. Let these blessings sit with you. They describe people the world often overlooks. People who might feel small or unseen or quiet, yet Jesus says they are the ones nearest to the kingdom of God. It's a map of values turned upside down, or perhaps a map that turns our own upside down world right side up. Let your mind rest here for a moment before we continue. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. When you're ready, we move to the next chapter. After offering blessings to the quiet, the humble, the sincere, Jesus shifts the tone. It becomes more direct, yet still gentle. He begins to tell the crowd not just who is blessed, but who they are. You are the salt of the earth, he says. It's a simple image, but it carries layers of meaning. Salt is small, it's quiet, it doesn't draw attention to itself, but without it, everything is dull. Everything is empty of flavor. Salt doesn't dominate the meal, it brings out what is already good. And this is where Jesus' teaching becomes unexpectedly philosophical. He's saying that your presence in the world, your compassion, your integrity, your patience adds something subtle but essential. You don't have to be loud to be meaningful. You don't have to be famous to make a difference. You don't need to stand on a stage to influence the world around you. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness changes more than the most impressive performance. Salt works quietly, and so do you. Then he adds something curious. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? In other words, if you abandon your values, your compassion, your sincerity, you lose the very thing that makes your presence valuable. It's not about perfection. It's about staying true to the goodness within you, even in a world that tests it. Next, Jesus offers another image. You are the light of the world. Light doesn't try to impress. It doesn't seek attention. It simply exists, and because it exists, others can see. In the ancient world, light was precious. A single flame could guide travelers through darkness, protect a home, or allow someone to find what was lost. In the same way, your gentleness, your honesty, your courage, even when small, can be a light for someone else. Maybe you'll never know whose life you affected. Maybe your kindness won't be recognized, but influence isn't measured by applause, it's measured by presence. Jesus then says, "A city on a hill cannot be hidden." This isn't a call to ego. It's not an invitation to be loud or forceful. It's a reminder that the good within you is not meant to be buried out of fear. You don't have to hide your compassion. You don't have to suppress your integrity. You don't have to dim your light just because the world feels overwhelming. And then the final image. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say, show your goodness so people will praise you. He doesn't say, shine so that others think highly of you. He says, shine in such a way that people feel lifted, reminded of goodness itself. Your light is not about self-promotion. It's about guiding others toward hope, calm, and clarity. This is philosophy rooted in action. Stoics would call this virtue displayed quietly, not to impress others, but because it is who you are. Imagine a lantern carried through a quiet night. It says nothing, it demands nothing, it simply shines, and because it shines, someone else can walk safely. That is the invitation here, not to preach, not to argue, not to dominate, just to exist as a quiet source of warmth and direction. You may never fully understand how far your influence carries. A single patient word, a moment of forgiveness, a small act of generosity may become the turning point in someone else's story, and most of the time you will never know. But that's the beauty of salt and light. Their impact is felt more than it is seen. It is experienced more than it is recognized. As you reflect on these images, allow yourself to consider, where are you salt in your world? Where do you bring subtle goodness that others might overlook? Where do you carry light, not to impress, but simply because it's natural for you to care? You don't have to try harder to shine. You just have to stop hiding the light you already carry. Let that thought settle. Take a slow breath. Allow the idea of quiet influence to rest gently in your mind. When you're ready, we'll move into the next chapter. As the crowd rests on the hillside, absorbing the images of salt and light, Jesus shifts the conversation inward. Up to this point, he has spoken about blessing, influence, and quiet virtue. But now, he speaks to the deeper places. The places where conflict begins, not between people, but within a person. You have heard that it was said, "Do not murder." But I say to you, anyone who is angry with his brother is already in danger. With these words, he moves past outward behavior and touches something far more difficult, the condition of the heart. Most people think morality begins with actions, what you do, what you choose, what you avoid. But Jesus points to something earlier, something smaller, something more dangerous. The beginning of anger, the spark before the fire, the seed before the tree. He teaches that unresolved anger, left to sit in the heart, grows into something destructive. Not because anger itself is inherently evil. Anger can be natural, even justified. But because anger has a way of changing us quietly, almost without notice. Anger reshapes the way we see people. It turns a human being, someone with flaws, hopes, pain, and a story, into an obstacle. An enemy, a threat. And once someone becomes a threat in your mind, compassion grows dim, mercy feels costly, forgiveness feels impossible. patience feels weak. Jesus is pointing at that moment, the moment before resentment becomes action, and he's saying that is where the battle begins. He continues, if you are offering your gift at the altar and remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there. Go and make peace first. This is profound. He's saying that reconciliation, repairing a damaged relationship, is more important than ritual, religion, or reputation. A humble apology is worth more than a perfect prayer. A genuine attempt at peace is more sacred than the offering itself. Even the Stoics, who prized emotional discipline, understood this. Epictetus wrote that anger harms the one who holds it more than the one who caused it. It's a fire that burns inward long before it ever burns outward. Jesus is saying, don't let the fire grow. Put it out while it's still small. Take the first step toward peace, even if the other person won't meet you halfway. Then he moves to judgment, the tendency to elevate ourselves by lowering others. You have heard, do not commit adultery, but I tell you, anyone who looks at another with lust has already committed adultery in the heart. Again, he's not just addressing the action, he's addressing the inner lens through which we look at others. In modern times, this is even more relevant. Screens, images, and digital temptation have turned people into objects more easily than any generation before. Jesus is pointing us toward a deeper purity, not avoiding desire, but avoiding the transformation of desire into something that dehumanizes. He isn't attacking the natural impulses of the heart. He's teaching us to guard the direction of our thoughts before they distort our vision of another human being. The message beneath his words is subtle but clear. The inner life matters. Your thoughts matter. Your intentions matter. Your secret emotions matter. Because all of these eventually shape your character, and then your choices, and then your life. He finishes this portion of the sermon with a striking but symbolic warning. If your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. Better to lose part of yourself than to lose your way entirely. He isn't commanding self-harm. He's using an ancient teaching technique called hyperbole, an exaggerated image to communicate a deeper urgency. His meaning is this: remove the things that poison your inner life, even if they feel familiar, even if they feel comforting, even if their absence feels like a loss. It's better to lose a habit than to lose your integrity. Better to part with a temptation than to part with your peace. The entire chapter can be summarized in one idea. Guard your inner world. For the heart is where the invisible battles are won and where they are lost. Take a breath, let that settle. Your inner life is not a hidden place. It's the foundation of everything you will ever do. When you're ready, we'll continue. As the hillside remains quiet and the crowd listens, Jesus moves into one of the most difficult teachings of all: forgiveness, mercy, and love toward those who hurt us. He begins by speaking to a common saying of his time: an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. This wasn't meant to encourage revenge. It was originally a law intended to limit it, to prevent punishment from spiraling out of control. But Jesus goes further. He teaches not just restraint, but transformation. Do not resist an evil person, he says. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to them the other also. He's not telling us to accept abuse. He's pointing to a deeper truth. When you respond to cruelty with cruelty, you become shaped by the very thing you despise. You mirror the darkness that wounded you. You surrender your peace to someone else's anger. What Jesus suggests is not weakness, it is inner freedom. The freedom to decide who you become, even in the face of disrespect. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy, to remain calm even when provoked, to remain compassionate even when misunderstood. Jesus is calling us to that same strength, a strength that refuses to let bitterness shape the heart. He continues with another example. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2. In his time, Roman soldiers could legally force a person to carry their gear for 1 mile. It was humiliating, exhausting, a reminder of oppression. Yet Jesus says, go a 2nd mile, not out of submission, but out of a strength that refuses to be controlled by resentment. By choosing to go further, you reclaim your dignity. You act not out of coercion, but out of purpose. You rise above the moment rather than sinking beneath it. Then Jesus speaks directly about generosity. Give to the one who asks you. Do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow. We often fear generosity because we fear losing something: time, money, energy, boundaries. But generosity, when chosen freely and wisely, does not diminish us. It expands us. It teaches us to value people over possessions, compassion over calculation, presence over protection. But then Jesus reaches the heart of this chapter, the teaching that feels almost impossible. Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who mistreat you. This is not natural. It cuts against instinct, against pride, against the desire to defend, retaliate, or withdraw. Yet Jesus reveals something profound. If you only love those who love you, you're not growing. You're simply reflecting what you receive. Growth begins when you love where love is absent. When you show mercy where mercy has not been shown to you. When you respond to hostility with dignity and patience. Why does he ask this of us? Because loving your enemy does not justify their actions. It liberates your heart from being shaped by them. Anger chains you to the person you resent. Hatred becomes a form of imitation. Bitterness is a slow erosion of your own peace. But love, even quiet, distant, guarded love, breaks the chain. It restores your humanity. It allows you to rise above the cycle of retaliation. It protects you from becoming hardened, cold, or consumed by someone else's actions. Jesus then uses an image from nature. God causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good. He sends rain to the righteous and the unrighteous. This is not injustice. It is a reminder that compassion is not a transaction. Mercy is not a reward. Goodness is not a prize earned. It flows freely because it is rooted in God's character, not ours. Jesus invites us to imitate this kind of love, steady, patient, impartial, not dependent on the behavior of others. He ends this section with a challenging idea. Be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. He does not mean flawless. The word he uses means complete, whole, mature. To be perfect in this sense is to grow into a love that is not ruled by impulse or ego, but by compassion, resilience, and clarity. It's a call not to moral perfection, but to emotional and spiritual maturity. As you let these teachings settle, consider this. You do not have to feel love to choose it. You do not have to erase hurt to wish someone well. You do not have to forget pain to release its power over you. Mercy is a direction of the heart, a quiet movement toward freedom. Take a slow breath. Let it soften your chest, and when you're ready, we'll move to the next chapter. As the crowd listens, Jesus turns to a burden nearly everyone carries: worry. It's a quiet weight, invisible to others, but heavy on the mind. He begins gently. Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink or wear. This isn't dismissal. He's not ignoring the struggles of daily life. He's speaking to the tendency of the mind to live in imagined futures, to create storms that haven't arrived, to suffer long before anything has happened. Worry is the mind trying to control what cannot be controlled. And in doing so, we lose the present moment, the only place where peace actually exists. Jesus then points to nature. Look at the birds. They do not sow or reap or store away, yet your Father feeds them. It's not a command to be careless, but an invitation to trust, to loosen the tight grip on every outcome, to remember that life is bigger than our fear and more held than we realize. He continues, which of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? It's a question that dissolves anxiety with simple truth. Worry feels productive, as if turning a problem over in the mind is the same as solving it. But it changes nothing except our own peace. Jesus then speaks of the flowers of the field, effortless beauty, existing without striving, held in place by forces beyond their understanding. If God clothes the grass of the field, will he not much more clothe you? He's not promising a life free from hardship. He's offering a shift in focus, from fear to faith, from scarcity to provision, from anxiety to presence. He ends this section with a timeless principle. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. It's not pessimism, it's clarity. You were only meant to carry today. Tomorrow will come with strength for tomorrow, but you have the strength for now. This is more than a command. It's an invitation to intimacy, a spiritual life not shaped by image, but by sincerity. Then, Jesus addresses prayer itself. He warns against empty repetition, words spoken without heart, phrases used without meaning. Your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. Prayer, then, is not informing God, it is transforming you. It realigns your inner world. It shifts your focus from fear to hope, from self to something greater, from confusion to clarity. He then offers a simple, grounded prayer, not lofty, not complicated, but honest and balanced. A prayer that holds both humility and confidence. Give us today our daily bread, not tomorrow's bread, not next year's security, today's strength, today's clarity, today's peace. Jesus ties spiritual discipline back to forgiveness. If you forgive others, your Heavenly Father will forgive you. This isn't a transaction, it's a reflection of the heart. A heart open to receive grace must also be open to give it. Then he speaks about fasting, another spiritual practice that can easily become a performance. He says, when you fast, do not look somber or draw attention to yourself. Put oil on your head. Wash your face so it will not be obvious. In today's terms, do not advertise your struggle. Do not chase sympathy. Do not use sacrifice to elevate your image. True discipline is quiet. True devotion is humble. True spirituality blooms in silence, not on a stage. In these teachings, Jesus reveals a simple truth. Your inner life shapes your outer life. Tend to it with honesty, patience, and quiet sincerity. When you're ready, we can continue to chapter 7. As Jesus begins to close the Sermon on the Mount, his tone becomes steady and direct. He has spoken about humility, compassion, forgiveness, prayer, and integrity. Now, he turns to the question that matters most. What will you build your life on? He gives a simple image, one that anyone listening would understand. Everyone who hears these words and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Life is unpredictable. Storms come whether we ask for them or not. People disappoint us. Plans fail. Circumstances shift. There are seasons when everything feels steady, and seasons when everything feels like it's tilting beneath our feet. Jesus is saying, your stability cannot come from what is outside you. Not from wealth. Not from approval, not from comfort, not from status, not even from circumstances going exactly as you want. Those things shift like sand, but if your character, your inner world is grounded in truth, compassion, humility, and forgiveness, then when the storms arrive, you will not collapse, not because you are strong, but because your foundation is. He continues with the contrast. But everyone who hears these words and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The difference between the wise man and the foolish man is not intelligence, not capability, not opportunity. It's attention. It's practice. It's the willingness to build slowly and intentionally. Sand is easy. It's comfortable. It requires no effort, no patience, no digging, no anchoring. A foundation on rock takes commitment. You have to shape your thoughts. You have to calm your impulses. You have to forgive when forgiveness feels inconvenient. You have to choose mercy when pride offers an easier path. You have to practice goodness even when no one is watching. The storms Jesus describes, rain, rising waters, winds beating against the house, are metaphors for the inevitable pressures of life. Fear, stress, loss, uncertainty, failure, regret, temptation, conflict. These storms do not break you. They reveal what you are standing on. And Jesus is offering a foundation that does not move. The chapter ends with a moment of quiet astonishment. Matthew writes that the crowd was amazed because Jesus taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. The difference is clear. He did not speak to control. He did not speak to impress. He spoke from a deep truth, a truth aligned with the heart, the soul, and the quiet longings of those listening. And that truth still speaks today. A foundation built on compassion does not crumble. A foundation built on humility does not crack. A foundation built on forgiveness does not wash away. A foundation built on love, even toward enemies, endures every storm life brings. The Sermon on the Mount is not a list of rules. It is the blueprint for a meaningful life, calm, steady, courageous, and grounded. So take a slow breath. Feel the weight of the hillside teachings settle gently in your mind. You have walked through blessing, influence, inner transformation, mercy, trust, and now the foundation beneath it all. Build your life on what is true, on what brings peace, on what draws you closer to the person you were meant to become. And let that foundation carry you through every storm,